What is going on, everybody? Sorry, I got my music playing in the background here. How is everybody doing on this Saturday night? It's been a long time. I haven't done a Saturday night stream in ages. I reached out to Eric Price, aka Bay Area Baller 18, and I kind of presented him with what has been the hot thing going on Twitter. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Twitter's been ablaze, social media's been ablaze with what else? Quarterback talk. So I figure we talk about that for a bit, and then we kind of hit some of our preseason kind of expectations, guys we're looking at, just 49 related stuff. But the quarterback thing is the main topic. So before we get into it, I just want to ask Eric how he's doing.
Aaron, I'm feeling really good. I'm excited. We are on the eve of preseason week 1 for the 49ers. So it's just an exciting time of the year. I'm excited to talk to you. You sent me this rundown, and I was like, it's going to be a good show.
So I hope we can get to it because we're going to be talking about quarterback for a bit. So maybe we'll do a rapid fire segment in the last, 25 minutes of the show or something. Okay. So one of the things you asked me when I was talking about topic is you wanted to have a topic that you said that what would Trey Lance have to do? Does he actually have a shot, to be the starter? What does he have to do in order for that to happen? Personally, right now, I don't think there's anything he can do other than be ready and ready and waiting and have everything, be on his P's and Q's and just have everything, when his number's called, he has to be prepared. I think that's the only thing that he could control. What is your mindset? First of all, how do you feel about this chasm that has been created with 49er fans, depending on what side of the argument you're on? I'm kind of neutral, and some people say that's kind of like a coward's way out of
a cop out.
Yeah, but I'm just not. I'm not going to spend all my time tweeting and retweeting stuff. What's your take? Like, what do you make of this giant chasm, and where do you lean? Are you a Trey guy? Are you a Brock guy? Are you a 49ers guy? Like, does it matter?
I support whoever's lining up behind center. That being said, Brock Purdy, I wasn't expecting him to get cleared so early. That kind of threw a wrench in just my mindset, because originally I was thinking, hey, let's kind of slow play Brock back. Maybe Lance could get a few games early on and see how it goes while then fully get Brock back to full strength. But that's not how it happened. Brock is cleared. He's ready to roll. So at that point, I got to look at my coaching staff, Kyle Shanahan, and have some confidence in him that he's picking the right quarterback to start out the season. Because Kyle, he wants to win just like we do. So if he thinks Brock is that answer, I support that, because I like Brock. I like Trey, and I am excited that Trey's going to be playing, it sounds like, the whole first half, because he needs reps. We need to see what the kid's got. So I understand it. Brock, whether he's 100% right now, I couldn't tell you. I haven't laid my eyes on him. I can't wait to see him out there. Hopefully he's playing the second preseason game is what I would think. But he's not playing tomorrow. And, I'm okay with Brock's back. He's the guy. We saw what he did last year. The kid's a playmaker. So I'm good where we're at. Now, getting back to the question, does Trey Lance have a chance to take over week 1? I would say it's a very slim chance, Aaron. I'm thinking maybe 10%. And what he would have to do is he would have to go out starting tomorrow and essentially set it on fire. Like, he would have to be really freaking good, lead a couple touchdown drives. And if Brock then plays, later on in the preseason and he's struggling and Trey continues just this resurgence and he's just dominating out there, just imagine Twitter then. If that's happening, right? If Trey's balling out and Brock's kind of struggling, we hear he's struggling right now in training camp. So if that scenario happens, Twitter, I guess it's X now, would be ablaze calling for, hey, Trey deserves his shot to play week 1. And if it's so lopsided, which I don't think this is how it's going to play out, but that's the only scenario I think Trey could surpass Brock on the depth chart. But it's chances.
He would have to make it undeniable that the Niners have to make the other choice. The thing with me is last year when Trey was getting all the reps and everybody, there was people reporting and they were saying he was struggling and his accuracy was bad and he was erratic. He was having trouble hitting the layups, but then you see what his arm can do on another throw and you're like, oh, wow, that's why we drafted that guy. I never wavered as being the starter. Like, I wasn't like, well, you got to put Jimmy back in. Like, I don't understand for anybody who thinks that, like, I'm doing this only because it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. I was as even with my mindset last training camp and off season that Trey was the guy, and I was 100% behind him. Even when they brought in Jimmy, I'm like, I don't want to see Jimmy play. I want to see him touch the field. I want the kid to do, even if he falls on his face and just plays horribly for parts of the season and we don't make it, right? He got the experience, right? So now they're going to have a little bit more of an idea of what he really is. And then they can make that decision based off of the tape and the proof that they have. We still don't even have any type of proof really to go off of other than 4 games and a couple quarters based, a film. And I don't understand the hate towards him or the bust label, but at the same time, like, they hate the vitriol that's coming at Brock Purdy right now. And just this, it's just a huge step. The 49er fans are losing their freaking minds, dude. It's really bad. Like, it's pretty, like, we have to be the most divided fan base when it comes to quarterbacks
for years
that I've ever seen. Like, people are legit.
And it goes back to Joe and Steve, it goes back that far, it's nothing new. And it's toxic on the internet just with, just a divided fan base.
And it sucks because at the end, shouldn't we be cheering for this? Where is it? And not the name on the back. Like, I have my guy. I was a Montana guy, right? It took me a long time to come over around to Steve Young. I'm still a Joe guy overall. However, Steve got that monkey off his back, just like he said in the the NFL Films video when he won that Super Bowl. So, he was able to elevate himself into the place where I could say, like, okay, he's as comparable to Joe Montana. He might not be Joe as far as many rings as he got, but, like, yeah, there was that separation back then with 49er fans. Were like, I remember as a teenager when he went to Kansas City. I can't believe I'm admitting this. When he went to Kansas City, Joe, I was so pissed off because I was a Joe Montana guy. I was a 49ers fan. I bought a Kansas City freaking sweatshirt because I was that hurt that the 49ers made that move. And I try not to admit it because...
And then he beat us.
And and then he beat us in that game. And I don't know, I was just really mad. But I grew and I realized, why am I wearing this? And I need to get it off of me as soon as possible. And then I never saw the sweatshirt ever again. I don't know. But that was me as a teenager, right? We are grown folks that are losing it with each other. We go at each other on Twitter. There's personal attacks. There's people that just create like fake accounts just to spam and create all sorts of divisiveness and then disappear. Like, that's the part that I can't believe it. This is ridiculous. It's worse than it's ever been, I think. And then that's the part that's kind of sad. You know what I mean? Like, we're on the precipice of a season that could be really special with a really good team. Yet everybody is all about camp numbers and, their side of the argument versus your side of the argument. It's insane. I just don't understand it.
What I will say is I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, and I hope Trey Lance just tears it up and leads a couple touchdown drives. Hopefully they don't run him at all. No designed runs. I don't want to see that because that's not what he needs reps at, in my opinion.
Right. He needs to throw
in the pocket, making reads, first read, second read, going through his progressions. And I'm excited to watch some ball tomorrow.
I am too. I hope that offensive line can protect him because I've heard that those backups have had some serious problems in camp. So I hope he's alert and is in minds his surroundings, because I hope that's the one thing you worry about in preseason, right? Is people getting hurt, people getting injured.
Yeah.
The one thing I saw, I didn't download the video, but I showed it to you. There was a segment. There was a segment with Damon Bruce, who used to be on, I think, KNBR, and he was on Larry Krueger's show. Now, I don't have the greatest relationship with Larry, but I respect them as journalists. These people, and all of them, from whatever background they come from. And Damon Bruce pretty much made a statement that 49ers have a lot of these reporters that try to act like Grant Cohn per se, and try to create this divisive separation and talk about training camp practices and what they mean, this or that and the other. And he pretty much said that, like, he went with the Allen Iverson, we're talking about practice. And then he said, did we ever give a report that Dan Marino threw 4 interceptions in a practice? And Larry was like, no. He's like, yeah, because they didn't keep stats like that. He's like, I get what he's saying. There's other stuff that he did that was kind of shady and messed up towards other content creators, but like that part of the argument I do agree with, is that this whole keeping tabs on stuff that happens in training camps just seems asinine, and really it's a narrative based thing. If you ask me, it's all about the narrative that you're trying to put out there for what guy that you think is going to be the guy for the 49ers. And I just think it's insanity. But I don't know. Do you have any opinion whatsoever?
Yeah, I do. I know what you mean. And I've been saying it online that I want more context. I see the statistics, Aaron, but guess what? The stats aren't telling me the whole story. Like, I remember, we used to get, I haven't seen it this year, but Trey's first rep, what happened? Trey's second rep, what happened? Or if it was Jimmy, rep by rep analysis, where I liked that. But this year, for some reason, the context has kind of been missing. You're right. Sometimes it feels like there's some narratives being pushed, but I do feel like these guys, the beat reporters, they're trying to do the best job possible. And I feel like a lot of them think that they need the stats to give us, right, just because that's what the people want. But it's like, me personally, I mean, yeah, I'll take the stats. You can give them to me. I'll take them with a grain of salt. But really, it's the context. I want to know. Okay, I've heard Brock threw, I believe Hammer had 2 interceptions down. Cohn had 3 interceptions down. This was for yesterday's practice. Yeah, and okay, I saw that, but where's the context on the interceptions? How were they thrown? Did the linebacker pick it off? Was it right to him? Was a ball tipped? Like, that part's missing. Maybe I'm just not watching the right video and I missed their hour-long segment that they did later on. Maybe they talked about it there. But it's like what I'm seeing on Twitter and kind of in the short clips are just like very brief. It's just statistical analysis. Oh, Brock had 3 interceptions. He checked the ball down a bunch of times. Like, that's all we're getting. And I would love a little bit more. And that's why I'm so much looking forward to this game tomorrow, because I get to watch it myself and make my own opinions. Well, because I do trust a lot of these beat guys. There's some really good ones out there. Nothing's better than
trust your eyes more
watching it yourself and seeing really what's going down.
Yeah, I respect, I would say, the majority of all reporters. There's some people out there that, like the Michael Silvers of the world, that not a lot of people, or Mike Florio, that are just like, I don't want to deal with that. But again, that's their job. That's what they're paid to do. They're meant. That's what gets them clicks, is they say stupid that makes people be like, what? And then they have to go search it. And there you go. There's your click. I think some of the reporting has been a little bit narrative based, just based on when somebody would have Trey Lance would say like 8 sacks. He was sacked 8 times, because you can't actually get a sack and a guy can actually keep throwing it and can hold the ball. Yeah. This person will have statistics that are completely lopsided versus another person. So I always go kind of with the main guys, the Barrows, the Mayokas, the Jennifer Lee Chans, if she's there. People who are they work for the organization. They don't work for a YouTube channel or a website, or they're not out there with their own narrative. Because when you're kind of a solo guy, like you have a YouTube channel or you can do whatever you freaking want. There's nothing on YouTube that says you have to have a narrative that goes along with other people's thinking. You can essentially create your own. You're not writing for a paper. You're not getting notes from the organization telling you what and what not they don't really want you to report, because they do that. They've been told people to take stuff down, or a clip that makes somebody not look too great in practice, they tell people to scrub it. That things happen. So I get it, but like I say, I tend to use the guys that are the trustworthy guys, even if I think that their coverage is sometimes vanilla and very like not challenging, like they don't challenge the coach with a question. That's the thing about, yeah, I hate that. But that's what I love about Grant. And he'll take the hatred from the fan base and the people on the team. But sometimes you want somebody to ask the a-hole question about, like, when he made the comment of like maybe they need to drink more milk or something when everyone was getting hurt. And I was just like, man, that's really ballsy to say to the head coach of the 49ers. But, I don't know, man. I don't like the divisiveness. I don't like that everybody's crapping on each other. It's really sad. I hate it. I just wish the football season would start. But it's not going to end there, Eric. It's only going to get worse. Because if Brock comes out and craps the bed, it's just going to be like, see, I told you so. And then, no one will care what kind of run we go on, even if we go on one, because their narrative is what's more important. So kind of sad. That's why you want to have the big guy, the Mahomes, the Allen, the Burrow. So this isn't a conversation ever. We literally go into every season. We know the expectation. We know what the guy can do. The 49ers have kind of brought this on themselves, with always having question marks at the quarterback position. So I don't know, man. I'm not happy with how everybody's acting. I've been kind of a fool, though, over the offseason, so I can't really say too much about people's behavior on social media. But I don't know. Any other thoughts, or do you want to move on?
I think you got some really good topics lined up that I'm really excited to talk about. But just to put a bow on it, I'm hoping that the film kind of sorts itself out, and we really, Brock, I hope they both play good, and really I want Brock to play well. That way I think that would kind of calm things down if we see Brock do some good things similar to what he did on that run at the end of last year. Because then it's like, all right, Brock's, training camp is training camp. We just watched him. He's looking good. That's what I'm hoping for. But as I talked about earlier, if he struggles and Trey tears it up, woo, things going to be set on fire, Aaron.
Yeah, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to help the situation. Let's go to the Nick Bosa contract. We literally have had no update since training camp started. I did hear a report, and I forget who it's from, and it's a reliable source again, but I can't forget who it's from. Said he wouldn't be surprised if after the second preseason game that Nick Bosa is signed to his contract. Are you at all concerned? I'm not concerned yet. The closer we get in September, yes, because, Bosa has an injury history, and I think it would be kind of weird to just go from, working out every day, getting your cardio in and lift the weights, to being on the football field. I want to see that like natural progression of like doing reps, having some sort of quote unquote training camp, even though he's not in training camp. What's your take on it?
I wanted to look up the Sunday that is week 1. Okay, so that's September 10th. All right. I'm thinking I want Bosa in at least 2 weeks before that. Okay, so that would be end of August. As long as he's in there somewhere at the end of August, I'm feeling good. Give him a couple weeks with the team. It's not ideal. I got to be honest, Aaron. I would love my superstar, best defensive lineman in the NFL with the rest of his team. Like I listened to Austin Bryant's interview, and he's like, man, I would love to be able to talk to Nick Bosa and bounce some stuff off him. And I'm like, you know what? It just kind of triggered in my mind. I'm like, yeah, these guys, they want to learn from Nick. He's one of the best. So that being said, I'm not worried about, his conditioning, because we know what kind of body Nick has put together and what he does to sustain it. So I'm not too worried, but if September rolls around and he's still not signed and he's still not here, then that's when I would start, because then that's 10 days out.
Yeah, David McNiner says, I wonder if the brass is trying to protect Bosa from injury. I don't think that's the case. I think it's the case of what Kyle Shanahan said, David, is that he really hasn't had a training camp since he's been here, and look how he's played. So, or a preseason, or both, in whatever, combination that he's been here since he got drafted. Because remember, he got hurt during the beginning of training camp, where in 2019, missed all of training camp. I think it was like a high ankle sprain. And when he went into that game against the Bucks in 2019, he wasn't 100%. I mean, he had a sack and he did all sorts of other things disruptive, but you're right. Give me like a week in August where he's at the facility every day, and they're moving around in pads, and he's able to kind of get that callus back. Because I think, like I was talking to my brother, and I've seen other content creators talk about this. I said it to them, and then they kind of said it themselves in their own stream. Was like, you need that contact callus from going to non-padded stuff where you're doing stuff on your own, lifting weights and doing cardio at your Miami residence, to now you're banging up against Trent Williams, and things happen, muscles pop, tendons tear. There's nothing you can do to stop it. It's just athletics, and it's the 49ers play a certain style of defense. They play a certain style of offense. So I think the progression of having somebody kind of get that contact before the season starts is vital. I would be really scared if he started the season and he's literally just been doing walkthroughs. That would not sit well with me, because that always seems to lend itself to like a really bad injury happening. You know what I mean?
Feels like a muscle strain. It would just be, whether it's
and it would turn into like a hamstring tear, and then he's out for the year. Like, it just doesn't give me a good feeling. So we'll see. I'm not too worried yet. Give me about another 2 weeks, and I'm going to be super worried. So hopefully they get that contract done. I just want to say hello real quick to Ted Hazelrig from Ted Talks Ball. We have our Wednesday show, First and Ted. He says, Aaron and Eric, pineapples, fire. I don't know what the pineapple means, but okay. What do you make of all the injuries in camp right now? We have a pretty significant amount. There's a lot of stuff happening. We had Greenlaw leave practice, hamstring. Yeah. We have Bosa with an abductor strain.
Kittle.
Kittle has an abductor strain. Greenlaw left practice. I forgot who didn't practice, who had a hamstring. I forgot the player.
I wrote down a few because you sent me this one as a topic. So Ray's obviously he's out. It sounds like 2 months with his broken wrist. Like that one stings. But you hope you can get by. We know Ray, his main contribution is special teams, and I know you're going to want to talk about who that opens up the door for a little later. So Ray with the wrist, Kittle with the groin. The adductor is like a groin, what I was looking at on the anatomy list. Jalen Moore, the knee happened a while ago, the bone bruise, but he's not back yet. And then Drake Jackson also tweaked his hammy. And that one stinks, because I was really looking forward to seeing Drake, kind of get some more reps, right? Because we know last year he didn't suit up the last, 6 or 7 games, whatever it was. So it kind of stinks that we're not going to get to see Drake, because I think he does have some talent, but it's like, I want to lay my eyes on it and see what he can do on the field. But I don't think he's playing with his hamstring.
I wouldn't be surprised if they shut him down for the preseason with the hamstring issue, which sucks for him.
Are no joke. Hamstrings are no joke. That's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about Greenlaw too. Like, if you don't give it adequate time to heal up, then it's just so easy just to keep pulling it and tweaking it, and it could nag you all year.
Yep. And somebody made a point. They're like, well, what if it was the heat in freaking Las Vegas that's why this happened? I don't know. That cramps are more of an issue with heat. I don't think you pull ligaments in heat, but I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm concerned only because, Drake Jackson, this is a big season for him, because the Niners didn't make any movement on the free agent market. they'd made a huge movement on the free agent market with Javon Hargrave. Let's not underplay that. Okay. I understand. But, you know, when you have these young guys and they're cheap and you can count on them, that's kind of their best case scenario. That's what their fantasy is like. Oh, we're going to get all this production out of a guy we don't have to pay. We got these other studs, these stalwarts on the defensive line. Everything's going to be great. I didn't get that last year. We had a bunch of dudes and then we had Bosa. Like nobody really contributed to the pass rush at all last year other than Bosa. So it's a big concern for me that Drake Jackson isn't practicing. I want to see if he can actually do something other than knock down balls. Like I want to see a second move off of his initial rush to get around the corner because he's got the physical. You know, a lot of people say he looks like Aldon Smith and this and that. Aldon Smith was special. You know, he was a little mentally irregular, but he was special.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can see the body similarities, but man, that sucks for him because like it's another topic that we have, but just that edge situation, just it's scary. Like I want it, you know, is he going to be the starter? Is it going to be Clelin Ferrell? Like he could have really cemented himself this preseason, and now we're not going to know, and it could be for the whole preseason. So,
absolutely. I mean, can we dive into the edge right here?
Yeah, go right ahead.
And you were right, Bosa. I mean, it was kind of like a one-man band last year, but I will say the two guys who were probably the next best rushers off the edge were Charles Omenihu and Samson Ebukam, and those guys are no longer 49ers.
Right.
So I'm looking at the defensive end position, and Aaron, I've been screaming for it. I wanted a big boy. You know, I was always kind of aiming for Ngakoue, but I knew that was a long shot. He signed with the Bears.
$10.5 million.
Still, yeah, I was, you know, 5 or 6 or 7, maybe. I think the Niners might have bit, but probably not at the 10 that he ended up getting. That being said, looking at the list, obviously Bosa, Drake Jackson, Clelin Ferrell's going to be there. He's going to be getting some base reps. Kerry Hyder apparently has been doing good in training camp, which, you know, maybe you can get him onto the practice squad. One edge that I am a fan of, and it's a separate topic, but I'm just going to give him to you here because he's a defensive end, a player who I'm really watching, who might come on strong. I think I'm higher on him than most, is Austin Bryant. This guy, he's been banged up with the Lions. He's had multiple injuries. I think his season high is like 4.5 sacks he had one year. But just looking at some of the moves that I've seen in the film I've watched of him, he's got some pass rushing tools. Like, I don't want him in on like 3rd and short because I don't think he's going to anchor. I don't think he's going to really hold up that well in the run game. But in terms of 3rd and long, 2nd and long, I think Austin Bryant brings an element to this pass rush. He just had some moves. I call it like
he had like a quick twitch off the end, kind of like a D Ford, like that initial.
And he's got
movement.
Crazy length, and he's got crazy arm length. So Austin Bryant, and he unfortunately he missed a lot of time in training camp. I believe it was a hamstring. What's up with our guys and hamstrings, Aaron? Can we get him a stretch roller? Like, can we get someone just to rub out their hammies before practice? I mean, come on. Let's take it easy with the hamstrings, fellas. But Austin Bryant is an edge that I am excited about. Hopefully he's playing. I know he got back to practicing, so it's like, has he gotten enough reps in practice that they are going to roll him out there tomorrow? I'm hoping so because I want to see what he's got.
It's unfortunately when you construct your roster the way the Niners do, you essentially have like your anchors, and then you have like a bunch of role players that are expected to kind of fill in admirably and do a good job. The problem is sometimes you have to go for guys that have not really done much on other teams and that have had injury issues because you can't pay everybody. You can't have two ends making, you know, 15, 20 million, $30 million. The Ngakoue one, I never thought it was possible because he ended up signing for 1 year for $10.5 million.
Yeah.
Justin Houston, though, signed for like $7 million, $7 or $8 million. And I was just like, damn, you're kind of old, you know, like, I don't understand that. I was looking more at him. You know, some people have said Jadeveon Clowney, he's always hurt. I feel like he steals money from teams. He has the big name.
Like
he looks like a Greek god, but he's never plays. He's another one of those D Ford guy where they have like they look awesome probably without a shirt. But yet when they get on the field, they're always dinged and hurting and
on a 1-year deal, I would be open to Clowney. I'm not giving him
me too.
no 3-year
But
deal.
I have no expectation from him because he can't stay healthy, no matter what.
I feel like he's played. I know he's missed some games, but he gets out there. He moves some people. The thing I hated about Clowney was he was complaining that Myles Garrett, that the coach was scheming up all the good looks for Myles Garrett to get sacks. And it's like at that point,
incredible player,
dude. Yeah, they're scheming up Myles Garrett because he's your best freaking player. So I didn't like him complaining about that. Maybe he's not fully like a team guy. But how about Melvin Ingram, just a veteran? He's been around for a while.
Is he still out there?
I believe Melvin Ingram's still out there, and I think he could bring some juice off the edge in a limited capacity because we know what Chris Kocurek does with these guys, right? They're all splitting reps. They're
even
keeping guys fresh.
Even if it's a third down specialist, where they call their NASCAR package. Where you have 4 pass rushers, even your D tackles are essentially edge guys. They can be they can intermix. I would be okay with it. You're right. Certain guys, you're not going to anchor them on 3rd and short. You got to have all your fat guys, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way, but
the big boys.
You got to have your Ted Washingtons, your Michael Carters, guys that are like 3 people wide that take 2 guys to block them. You need that kind of
the Javon Kinlaws.
Hopefully, if he can get his pad level way down. He doesn't really move me. I'm not a big Kinlaw guy just because of his attitude and because he hasn't been able to stay healthy. But he looks almost ridiculously thin. Almost like I know for myself, I have really bad knee problems right now, and I'm heavy. Him losing all that weight with chronic knee tendonitis he's got to feel $1 million times better because it really does matter having all that weight on your bad knees. He said it if he can get his.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
He said it. He's got to get his pad level down. That's been his issue because he's really big and tall. He's a massive man, but he plays really high. When you play high, your strength is negated. You know what I mean? Yeah. What's the saying in football? Low man wins, right?
Wins.
If he can get low, I mean, who knows? Maybe he's not going to be resigned, but he's going to put out a case for himself for whoever signs him next to be like, wow, the Niners really screwed the pooch on this one.
He's in a contract year. You're right. And how often do we see guys, who end up having their best year in that contract year?
Under Chris Kocurek, too. Yeah. That's the thing. Chris Kocurek will get you paid even if when you go to the other team, you play like garbage. Because you don't have Chris Kocurek as your defensive court or your defensive line coach, He at least is going to get you that contract. Because you ever notice, like, the guys will get paid and then they'll go somewhere else. They're not the same. And they're like, as soon as they're done with that other team, they're like, I'm going to go back to the 49ers because I want to go under Chris Kocurek again. So it's, hey, I just want to see something other than Bosa and Hargrave. Armstead, to me, he's good. I like Armstead, but I don't know. Like, I don't.
He's overpaid. He's a good player, but he's
way overpaid. Yeah. He's way overpaid, and I ain't hating. You know, if somebody offered me the money that they offered him, I'm not gonna say no. Like, I ain't hating. Like, if somebody offers you $18 million a year, I'm gonna be, yeah. Where can I sign? Like, I'm not gonna say no. I don't know if I'm the caliber of player that would deserve such a no. Give me the paper. Like, who does that? No, so that's a big concern of mine. It's real. I want to see something in this preseason game because from some of the reports of going against Jimmy Garoppolo that like the defensive line wasn't getting any push in some of those practices. Now again, we can say, well, you know, there's no scheme, there's no defensive play calling, it's just man on man, but still, like, I want to see this man moved off the spot because Jimmy Garoppolo, we know, caged to pressure, so. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the Niners are just saving themselves for when it matters. But it was kind of when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's not a really good report to hear that they weren't getting any pressure. But
I got one last edge thought before maybe we hit another topic. But Taco Charlton, that was the move, right? Yes. That was the move they made. And I didn't know a ton about Taco, but after we acquired him, you know, I started diving in to watch some film. Actually, I tweeted out some clips of him getting a sack and forcing a fumble, recovering the fumble. And, he's got some tools. So I'm hoping Koceric can bring him along, a la maybe, some Arden Key flashes, something like that. So Taco Charlton is a guy I am also keeping an eye on here. I'll be watching for him tomorrow.
Yeah. I heard some good reports, especially on one-on-ones. They said he did pretty well.
Me too.
I heard some of that. That'll be interesting to see. A defensive line maybe with him, Armstead, a couple other of these young bucks. It'd be nice. It's good experience for these young guys who are going to be playing alongside Bosa and maybe in a kind of what do you call role, like a
rotation,
like a rotational road, like spot duty.
Yeah.
Like to see them get extended looks, see if they're worth the 49ers even keeping them. I still wish they would have made a move, man. I can't believe that they didn't go after at least one.
You know what? It might be, but what if it's the midseason move, Aaron? Because we know how much they like.
Me and Raj have talked about that maybe the Niners are saving themselves.
Emmanuel Sanders, Charles Omenihu,
if they're on a good run,
Jordan Willis. All these guys were midseason moves. So
right.
if they identify, hey, you know what? Opposite Bosa is a weak spot. Austin Bryant, Drake. These guys aren't getting it done. Cleveland Farrell, they're not getting it done. Maybe that's their midseason move this year.
I would be okay with it as long as it doesn't involve a first-round pick, because we need to use that first-round pick next year to get an offensive tackle. We need a future offensive tackle.
I like that.
I don't care what any other move. People, that's a boring ass first round pick, but it's extremely vital.
And we don't know how many years Trent has left.
Right. He could be done after this year. People say, oh, he intends to play out his contract. Well, I intend to do a lot of things in my life, but they don't always come to pass. So, and he's a big, strong guy who's dealt with, I think leukemia or cancer. He's had at some point, quality of life has to be your most important concern in life.
It was a non-cancerous tumor, if I remember correctly.
I hope he plays. I really hope he plays. Silverado Kev Comedy says, I look forward to seeing this DL work. Me too. I want to see something. I want to see some disruption,
Yeah.
Kurt Sampson says Armstead is our best run defender on the line, not overpaid.
I'm not gonna push back too hard, but I feel like if you make the big bucks, you got to be getting after the quarterback.
You have to have an elite trait. You have to have an elite trait if someone's going to pay you. Like there's got to be something that you do that separates you from your contemporaries. I don't like the reason I had an issue with Kinlaw being drafted is it's the player for player swap. You trade a player and then you draft the player, right? You sign up or you trade a player, then you draft the player to essentially take over for the player that you just got rid of. But yet he hasn't shown the ability to be really strong in the run game or as a pass rusher. Both things DeForest Buckner did pretty damn well. I mean, a 10-sack defensive tackle, that's insane.
That was you don't want to get me started on Buckner, Aaron, because that was the one move I kind of look at John Lynch that was probably the most frustrating move over drafting Solomon Thomas over that, because it's like Buckner was our guy. We watched him develop, and he just every year he got better and better. And then to let your blue chip D tackle walk, that was the one move that I am still upset to this day with John Lynch about. But and I don't try to criticize John too much, but that one, trading him for just a single first round pick and spending that on his replacement,
and a guy who had medicals with having bad knee issues. Like it was known that he had these problems.
I know.
And yet you're right. See, I don't want to get after John Lynch too much because he's awesome. The Niners under him and Kyle are the best they've been since the Harbaugh era. That I'm not taking that away, but there's been some moves for every swing and hit. They've had some ones where you're like, wow, that sets a franchise back a couple of years. Like, drafting Reuben Foster and Solomon Thomas in the same draft. That was one of the worst, but you can't do it all right. I mean, look at the drafting so far since Tom Brady left the Patriots. Bill Belichick doesn't look like a genius like he used to. It's you know, I guess things have ebb and flows, and eventually they wear off. I don't know. Um, let's talk offensive line.
Yeah.
Offensive line is something that a lot of people are like, okay, we're good at the starting positions for the most part. Colton McKivitz is kind of like the big giant elephant in the room, literally, where everybody's like, man, and you hear some reports that he got schooled a little bit by was it Mason Crosby? Max Crosby, which I don't really have an issue with that because when you're an elite pass rusher in one-on-ones, you should be able to win those. So it's kind of hard for me to get on him too much. I like to see him in a game through the flow of a game constantly over and over again. The offensive line is somewhat concerning to me. And then from all the people that were at training camp, the Rodges, the Teds, any of the guys you named that have a big platform, all of them were like offensive line looked kind of shitty at times in training camp. It looked pretty bad. What's your take on that?
I'm monitoring the right side very closely, right? Colton McKivitz, you said it, like I've seen him at left tackle fill in, last year when Trent Williams was banged up at the end of the year. But he's switching over to the right side. And I haven't seen him play a ton there. So I'm going to be monitoring Colton very closely. And then Spencer Burford, I was extremely encouraged. I caught Ryan Sakamoto with Larry, and Larry asked him about, what 49er kind of stood out to you. And Sakamoto went to Spencer Burford. He said the one-on-ones, he held up. He was a wall. And I love to hear that because Spencer last year, I mean, how crazy. It was weird that we were platooning right guard.
That was the word I was looking for before.
Yeah, that's not normal. So
to platoon a right guard, yeah.
To platoon a right guard, and Burford, he was a rookie. So I'm glad to hear some positive feedback that it sounds like he's improving because that's a guy, if he takes a major leap, that could be huge. Really solidifying. Like Aaron Banks, I feel really good about Aaron Banks at left guard.
And a lot of people were crapping on Aaron Banks.
They were. He was a bust, Aaron.
I remember saying, give him a year in the weight room, give him another year, give him a training camp and off season. And, I hate to be one of those people that thinks that they predict things, but I just had a feeling it was too early to write the end of Aaron Banks's career after one season. And the whole platooning that actually happened back in the 1989-90 season. The Niners used to platoon Steve Wallace and Bubba Paris. If you watch Super Bowl 24, the one where we whooped Broncos 55-10, I forgot what quarter who played, but one would play the first quarter, one would play the second, third, and fourth, Yeah, they platooned their. I bet you Ted remembers that if he's still in the chat. Anybody who's an older 49er fan, but yeah, the Niners. I don't understand why, but I understand why they did it last year. But you're right, it is weird to platoon your right guard, or any offensive lineman. Okay, we're gonna have you in on rundowns. We're gonna have you in on pass downs. You're coming in the fourth quarter, but hey, if it made him a better player this year, I hope, and then it's all worth it. But
yeah.
It's just scary because our offensive line got a lot of quarterbacks hurt last year. And I know a lot of the injuries, if you watched them, the Jimmy one was kind of dumb because Jimmy just kind of hold on to the ball and he wouldn't let it go. And Jimmy's a really fragile, small guy. So he's not exactly, prepared for that kind of bashing. The Brock Purdy one, it was kind of on Brock, but it was also a bad blitz pickup. So I get nervous.
Croft got matched up on Hassan Reddick, who's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. And Hassan Reddick, here's the thing that pissed me off the most about that, Aaron. Hassan Reddick, he has no interest in playing the run. And it was a play action where you had Croft trying to block him. And Croft, I would probably put the blame on Croft. Croft,
right,
barely even slowed him down. Hassan just immediately just beat him and just beelined right for Brock Purdy. Had no interest in playing the running back on the play action. And, the rest is history.
Yeah, I know in the comments you guys are saying the offensive line, the base offensive line didn't have really anything to do with the injuries. It's still concerning because, Brock Purdy's not a big individual. He's a small guy. He's a really small person. Like, I know he was working out. I mean, Jimmy wasn't the biggest guy. Trey, I love Trey to death. He's a bigger guy, but he's had issues staying healthy. So having an offensive line that's a question mark is scary because we have 3 quarterbacks that essentially can play, according to Kyle, maybe even 4. But do you really want to go through what we went through last year again? No, because lightning rarely strikes twice. And I think if you're depending on that sort of thing to happen again, you're an idiot. Like, oh, it's okay, we did it last year. It doesn't mean anything. Every season, every season is its own entity. You can't like take from one thing from one football season to the next and think it's going to be, the same outcome. Friggin' one of those guys can come in and play like dog doodle, and that's it. The season's over, and then the window shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and then we're a topic on a 30 for 30 about the team who had one of the best rosters but could never win a Super Bowl. Like, I don't want to be that team. So
either.
That would suck. Preseason players that you are interested in watching. I'll let you go first, and then I will chime in.
Well, unfortunately, we're not seeing Drake Jackson. That would have been one. And I did tell you Austin Bryant, that's a guy I will probably lock in on quite a few reps. Kalia Davis, I haven't heard. Has anyone even talked about Kalia Davis? He's
been injured.
Okay? He's not playing tomorrow.
He's been dinged up at camp. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'll have to look at that. I know they released a depth chart to the public as far as like the PR department.
Mm-hmm.
That's not really based on coaching or Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what's going on with Kalia.
I'm looking at positions, Aaron, where there's some kind of battle going on, some kind of camp battle. And we talked about Ray McLeod breaking his wrist. Okay, well, who's going to be the return man? Okay, we need a punt returner. We need a kick returner.
Yep.
So there's 2 guys who I think are kind of their likelihood of their probability of making the team went up due to Ray McLeod's injury because they're returners. And I'm talking Ronnie Bell, wide receiver.
Yep.
And on the flip side, on defense, Deshaun Jameson, right? He's a corner who had some really good return skills at University of Texas. So those 2 guys I'll be keeping tabs on because if they're looking good, if Ronnie Bell's catching balls, and he's makes a play on a punt return, well, Ronnie, all of a sudden, his likelihood of making the team is going to go way up. Flip side for Deshaun Jameson, if he's breaking up passes, he's being sticky, and he has some good returns, or even if he's just taking care of the ball and he looks secure with the ball back there, then so those are guys I'm keeping tabs on, and there's more than that. What about this linebacker core, Aaron? That's the thing. And not only us are watching this, teams around the NFL are watching our linebackers because we got so many freaking good ones. We can't keep them all.
You got McCrary, McCrary Ball. We have
D. Winters. This
Flanagan
dude Graham.
Falls.
This dude Graham's looking good. Flanagan Fowles. I love me some Flanagan Fowles. Like when he.
What about Oren? Isn't Oren Burks one of them too?
He's penciled in as the starter from what I saw. In the base, he's that 3rd linebacker next to Fred and Trey. That's the front runner is what I've heard. So we can't keep all these good linebackers. So I'm watching very closely. Like, who popped out to me years ago? Probably this is now 4 or 5 years ago. Was Azeez Al-Shaair. Yeah, I didn't know anything about him. I'm watching preseason, and I'm seeing Azeez just fly all over, making all these plays, and I'm like. This dude's good, and then years later you recognize like the Titans, I think they got a freaking steal of a contract.
They're trying to figure out how the 49ers let him go. I saw a report where they're like, how the heck did you guys let this guy slip through your fingers? He's a linebacker one.
He deserved more money. They got him at like $6 million for a year. I don't know if it's a 1 or 2 year deal, but I just remember seeing the contract and I was like, the teams around the league they disrespected my boy Azeez.
Right.
He deserved like a probably 8, 9, 10 mil contract, in my opinion.
Remember the linebacker that we had was it last year or the year before that Denver ended up trading for? He got hurt. He's out for the season.
He's out. I saw that.
Yeah, that was a year we had him. We had Azeez, and we had some other people that were fighting for spots. Yeah. I was like you with Azeez, but I also remember when the Niners drafted Dre Greenlaw. And he was making plays in a preseason. I'm like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
He hits like Bowman and Willis used to
I
hit,
know.
the bigger linebackers.
Yeah.
Because the Niners have linebackers that are really off the ball. They're not meant to take on offensive linemen, okay? They're meant to kind of finish the play off. So you have a really good defensive line in front of them, and they're able to kind of like finish the play. And back when we had like the Willis and Bowman guys, hell, they were as big as some of our defensive linemen, those two. But yeah, like, and it's funny. My brother, you guys know, I talk about him all the time in the chat. My brother's a Dolphins fan. He's like, he's amazed. He's like, you guys just produce like these guys at certain positions. He's like, it's a factory. I told my brother last year, I said, I want you to remember one name from me, your brother, Marcelino McCrary Ball. I said, I can almost guarantee you, and it might not happen, that the Niners' new linebacker 3 essentially could be Marcelino McCrary Ball. And he's like, okay. And I'm like, so if it ends up happening, I'm going to be like, didn't I tell you that? So I'll, kind of feel good about myself because I know Larry Krueger was a big Marcelino McCrary Ball fan. And yeah, it's a good issue to have. And unfortunately,
hopefully you can trade one of these guys.
Right.
We said not all of them can make the team, just like they did with the Broncos. That's what I'm hoping for. Get a 5 or get a 6.
Yeah, get some, whatever.
Yeah.
We seem to hit on the 5th and 4th, 5th, and 6th rounders anyways. I'm looking to see Jair Brown. I want to see what he's made of. I'm looking at a lot of talk was in camp about I forget the receiver's name. He's a journeyman. Chris Conley.
Chris Conley. Okay. I'm not a big Chris Conley guy, but go ahead.
Oh, you're not okay. Well, I was just, from the reports of everybody who was there, because I wasn't, so I'm not going to be like, yeah, I know what's going on. They were saying that he really made a case for himself to maybe be like a back end roster player. But the combination of him, Danny Gray, and of course the guy from Michigan, the receiver whose name is escaping me, those 3 players essentially could be fighting for 2 spots at the back end of that receiver rotation. Danny Gray has no excuse not to capitalize on this opportunity with Ray McLeod being out. He could essentially make Ray McLeod a non-factor when he's healthy. That's how it happens sometimes in sports. A guy, goes down, the whole thing with the Patriots. Drew Bledsoe goes down, Tom Brady comes in, the rest is history. I'm not saying that that's the level of player, but I'm saying that's just how some things happen. Danny Gray has to take every opportunity to be that guy that they drafted, because then he's got top end speed, and that's one thing the Niners and that's what they're known for. Could he be another multi-weapon type player where you can come out of the backfield? Who knows? So
I'm a big Danny Gray guy, Aaron. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm a big Danny Gray guy.
Right.
And what I don't think gets talked about enough or was recognized, but I saw Danny Gray contributing on special teams down the stretch last year. Like, he was a gunner and he was putting some heat on those punt returners. So that's one aspect where I feel like he can contribute. Like, I think Danny Gray's a lock to make this roster, in my opinion. I loved him coming out of the draft. I think not only is he this big-time speed deep threat, but I also think he can be like a yak guy. Get him the ball. Like, I don't know why last year I wanted to get him on some more jet sweeps. Like, get him the rock. His acceleration.
Get him on some crossers, some slants.
Yeah. I absolutely posts. Have him. Yeah, I'm excited. I think Danny Gray, we only caught 1 ball last year, but I do like that he can contribute on special teams, at least as a gunner. But I'm not sure he's a returner though, Aaron, because you were kind of correlating it to Ray.
Right.
I don't think he didn't catch many punts at SMU in college. Okay. That wasn't his thing, but I have heard that maybe kick return, he could do some kick returning potentially, but I think they've tried him out as a punt returner. Like, I've heard him practice, like, oh yeah, Danny Gray was catching some punts, but I don't think he's that good at it, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's not like Madden. You just can't interchange somebody. Some people are better suited.
Like Dante Pettis was supposed to be this big time punt returner, right? And then it's like the one time he did get a chance, which it took a while for him to even get it.
He got whacked.
He muffed it, or he dropped it. Yeah.
Guy was a big Sally ass. That's all he was. That's why he doesn't. I'm sorry.
When he showed up with pink hair, Aaron, when Dante Pettis showed up, and remember he had the little pink at the bottom.
And he was doing the cat lick thing. I'm like, what the hell did we draft? Like, what are you? No, I'm not hating on people that like to express themselves or live any kind of life. But bro,
it was weird. It was weird.
When I saw him licking at his hands like a cat, I was just like, oh, he needs to be one of those girls that sit on TikTok that go like this, that act like animated characters. Yeah, like go and do that. You know, you guys, you know what I'm talking about, right? If anybody doesn't know, go on TikTok. There's girls and guys that sit there and like they literally act like animated characters. And when you sent them a gift, they're like, yum, yum. You know, it's just like he's better suited for that than to be a football player. But that's I digress. Wow. Sorry about that. Let's talk about Jake freaking Moody. One of the most controversial draft picks.
Moody.
I was big on it. I was big on that. I will. I go to a 49ers
makes
game.
A play, right? We go juice. After Moody hits a kick, are we going moo?
Are they booing Moody? No, dummies. We're saying Moody. No,
yeah,
I'm
get
big
him
on
a milk sponsorship. Get him a milk deal.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great. You know, they have him on like Sports Illustrated in his kicker gear, and it would just, be the milk mustache. But yeah, I personally, a lot of people were down on that pick. I really wasn't, because it was a compensatory pick. It was at the end of the third round, so it was essentially a fourth round pick. Fourth round is usually where you pick kickers and punters, anyways. So, a lot of people were like, we should have done this. We should have got an offensive tackle, which I agree with. But my guy Brian,
Cam Latu, maybe Cam Latu is the one.
I heard Cam Latu is pretty poopy, man. He's not real good. He's got hands of stone. And that Braden Willis looks like the guy. We need
That's my dog. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, Aaron. I got to cut you off right there, because when we were talking about who we're watching, Braden Willis should have been the first. Right. Braden Willis should have been the first name I said, because I'm a huge Braden Willis guy. Like tight end, when the draft's going on, I like to kind of call myself like a YouTube scout, right? But I didn't do all the positions, but I evaluated tight end. I scouted a lot of dudes. And at Latu, some of my notes said like not overly impressive, like nothing really. But Braden Willis, I went back to my notes and I was really excited about what I saw after the catch. And not only that, I'm watching him as a blocker, because Aaron, what I watched him do at Oklahoma, it's like what some tight ends, they're not interested in blocking. Like they just kind of get in the way. Like they're not trying to move you. No, Braden Willis gives everything he's got. I watched him come across on a wham block and just lay his shoulder right into a defensive end's chest and just crumble the dude. And I was like, Braden Willis brings it. So that's a guy I'm definitely watching. I love me some Braden Willis.
It's funny. After the draft, some of the talk was opposite. A lot of people were saying Braden Willis was the reach and that Latu was the guy.
No.
And all I've heard from Latu is that he looks lost. And he can't
Well, he was a D-end. He was a D-end. Getting recruited to Alabama. Originally, he was recruited. He played his first year as a defensive end.
Well, maybe they need to put him back on the 49ers. Maybe he can rush the passer. I don't know. We'll have ourselves another end. Do what the Belky and freaking that era did, where they drafted a guy as a defensive player and ended up making him a fullback.
Yeah, Troy Brown played offense, defense for him. Julian Edelman played some offense, defense for him. They're doing it now. They had a quarterback playing that apparently is also practicing at wide receiver just now in the preseason game I was watching it. So the Patriots, absolutely, they're still doing that stuff.
I think my internet's going a little goofy.
You're back.
Okay. I hope it doesn't go out again. The last thing I want to talk to you about is there was talk that the Niners have a Super Bowl window that's closing, and that eventually, some people say it's 2 years, some people say it could be 3 years, as long as they have a cheap quarterback. Depending on who you listen to, some people are very much anti Brock Purdy, and they're like, it's 2 years, and you better do it soon because then they got to pay him. And would you pay a guy like Brock Purdy and all this and that? What is your take? I do think the Niners have somewhat of a Super Bowl window, because eventually you got to pay everybody, and eventually guys get old and their primes are over, and you're never going to have that same nucleus of players. What is your take? Do you think the Niners need to put up or shut up this year, or do you think they have another year or two after that?
You're kind of springing me on this one because
Sorry.
I haven't been looking, years and years down the road. I've been focused on the now, Aaron, because I think this team we got right now is a Super Bowl caliber team. Okay. This team, I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, that's how I'm looking at it, Aaron. Like, it's Super Bowl or bust. I got to be honest. We've been close, and I'm freaking tired of being close. Okay. What do they say in Talladega Nights? If you're not first, you're last. Okay.
Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades. So
those are the cliches. But this is a Super Bowl team, and I think they're going to get it done. Like, why not, Aaron? Why freaking not? I think we got the talent all over the place. I believe in Kyle Shanahan. I know maybe in the big games, maybe he hasn't been at his A game.
Right, but Andy Reid wasn't for years.
I think he's been in the big games. I think he's been at more of his B game. Like, why the hell didn't we throw the challenge in that Eagles game, right? Was it Devontae Smith down the sideline? It was their first possession.
And he hit and dropped the ball.
And the ball hit the ground. You can see Hufanga going like this. It's the challenge flag needs to be thrown immediately. Like, I know we didn't get a replay on TV. I don't care. That was just such a big play. I want to say it was a third down. So it's like it went from it should have been a punt, or instead they got the ball, whatever, at the 10-yard line, wherever the hell that was. So, but that being said, this is a Super Bowl team. Now, how long is the window? I mean, I'd say it's at least 3 years. I don't think you can look past 3 years. Like, why? Why do you want to project 2030 for what? Like,
right.
I think the next 3 years, and we'll see how they tweak the roster, because they got a lot of contracts, but guys are going to be coming off the books too. They're not paying a lot, Armstead, some of these big salaries forever. So, I mean, I don't think we need to look years and years down the road. I'm focusing on the now, and I want that Super Bowl.
This is if any year the Niners were primed to win, it's this year. The NFC's down, at least right now, as we're sitting here. AFC's really strong, but in a way that's good for us, because essentially they're going to knock each other out. And then, we get whatever's left. I think the Niners, they stay healthy and they make a decision at quarterback. I don't care who it is. I really don't. If those two things happen, they will win enough games to get themselves into the playoffs. And the Niners in the playoffs are a dangerous team. So I would love for them to have the bye this year. I really think for guys like Bosa and the physical guys that we have on our team, the first-round bye would be essential. I think we get the first-round bye in home field. I think we get back to the Super Bowl. I can almost guarantee it, because Levi's is becoming a place where people don't want to go to play. And the faithful, for what they haven't been in the previous seasons under other coaches, they've become that in Levi's the last 2 to 3, 4 seasons. It's a real place to play now. It's awesome. And I'm glad that they've kind of figured out, hey, we're going to start the Niners home games a couple weeks after the beginning of the season, so people aren't fried in the sun and they're not leaving the center of the stadium open on TV like they were doing, where the whole section they were showing was empty all the time because of the heat. So I'm really excited about tomorrow's game. I have to find out if I still can watch it. I ordered the preseason package the last couple years. So literally after I get off stream with you, I have to see if I still have it so I can watch it on my MacBook and see if I could stream it to my TV and watch some preseason 49er football. It's going to be exciting. Anything you got going on I know you say you want to start streaming more. I know you're part of the I'll let you say it.
I got the straight out of the bay.
Gotcha.
With my guys. That's every Monday.
Every Monday. Yep.
Shout out Celts, Jay in the Bay, and Amin. Those are my guys Monday. So we'll get a show popping off on Monday. Tomorrow, I think I'm linking up with Kruger. So that should be interesting. Nice. We'll see how that unfolds. But hey, I'm excited. The chat has been live.
Yeah.
If you guys can also subscribe to my channel, I'd appreciate it. I'm trying to boost this thing. It's right there on the screen right there. Bay Area Baller 18. And that's one word.
Eric, I think you're super underrated. You come
across. I appreciate that. I've been a long-time subscriber of yours.
I appreciate that.
Your YouTube shorts pop up on my timeline. So I get a lot of my news and breaking stuff from you. I've been a long-time subscriber of 49ers First Takes.
You and Jay in the Bay didn't know that you both had channels for the longest time, probably within the first year and a half I was on YouTube. I used to see Jay in the Bay, Burial Baller, Jay in the Bay, Burial Baller. And all of a sudden one day I'm like, oh, no way. They have channels. Okay. I want to collab with them. Absolutely.
I saw you guys all putting in work, and I was like, man, that looks like a lot of fun. I needed a new hobby, and it's a blast.
It's cathartic, especially for me. I deal with bad depression and anxiety, and I took a break from YouTube. My therapist actually told me, I think YouTube would actually be good for you. Break yourself out of the media, this the way you go about doing things, and have something that you focus on that brings you joy. And I was like, taking a little time off at the end of, say, the beginning of June till late July. For me, it's just good for my mentals because there's not a lot going on. You get yourself a chance to kind of sit back for about 6 weeks and then get ready to go up until January, February. You know what I mean? Talking Niners is great, but sometimes, if you got other stuff going on in real life, it makes it a little bit tough. So, I want to do this again with you. I got to talk to my guy Jay in the Bay too. It's been a long time. I usually do just one-on-one streams. We have the Monday streams, as you know, but I want to start kind of opening myself back up to people that I haven't collabed with in a while. That's why I was like, what? I got to talk to him. I'm going to see if he's willing to do something. And you were, so I appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. I'm going to let Eric get out of here. Everybody have a great evening. Like he said, go subscribe to Bay Area Baller 18. He's got the Monday show with Celts Chronicles, Amin the Dream, and Jay in the Bay. Make sure you get on that. I know we're all going on at the same time, so it's kind of counterproductive to both of us, but hey, whatever. But everybody have a great rest of your night, and go Niners. And as David Niner always says, F those lambs.